Yes, welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard DFS show. Ali, Kev and Mags back for week 6. Gentlemen, how was your week 5 in DFS and how are you?
Really good, thanks. Yeah, I'm talking about me, but yeah, DFS week 5 was, a little bit below where I wanted to be. I had some really amazing picks, but a lot of trash ones in there as well. So looking to rebound in week 6 and feeling good about the slate this week. How about you, Max?
Yeah, I actually had such a busy week. I didn't really get a chance to enter as many things as I wanted, but I got absolutely shafted. I'm not gonna lie. Scored really well in some cash lineups and just came up against people with Jamar Chase when I didn't have him. So it's just the way it goes sometimes, right?
100%. That cash line was absolutely brutal this week. Quite often you'll cash with 130. You scored 150, you missed the cash line this week. And It's just the way it goes. But process was there. If you score 150 every week, you're going to cash most weeks. So keep it up and we'll get into it right now. So we're going to be guiding you through the main slate over at DraftKings for each week of the season. So now entering week 6. It is a great slate. We're now going to be highlighting our key plays at each position for both cash and tournament contests. So first we start with the cash lineup. So typically going for popular plays, high ownership, players with a high weekly floor. We're only looking to try and beat half the field to cash. And perhaps we need to score 160 just in case. So, boys, over to you. So, Kev, with the quarterback position, who's your 2 quarterbacks you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think you said a couple of really interesting things about cash then, about popular plays, high ownership percentage. It just screamed the first guy to me with who he's playing. It's Matt Stafford against the Cardinals. So I think Cardinals are going to be popular every week in terms of cash QBs. I do like to not pay top dollar at QB in cash just because it's going to give you a more balanced roster overall. You can spend pretty equally all over the place. So Matt Stafford, 6,100 makes sense. Like you say, if you're needing 3x from your lineup for your 50k to hit 150, you need 19 points from Stafford. I think if the Cardinals can stay in it, which I'm hoping they can, Dobbs has flashed a little bit in time, he's going to hit 19 points in my opinion. So he's the first guy I'm really into this week. And then second guy, shooting really low down in the barrel here. Gardner Minshew, 5,000, revenge game at the Jags. I do like it as a potential shootout. People might be scared a little bit about no Anthony Richardson, but Minshew's looked fine in the games that he's played. And 5,000, I wouldn't let that put you off in cash lineups. You can aim low. If you played Howell a couple of weeks ago in cash with the similar price, you've done great. And like I mentioned, 5,000. Can Gardner Minshew get you 15 points this week? I'd be very hopeful it can do that for you. So, I think it could be chalky, but regardless of how it goes, if he has a poor week and half the field's got him, you're still going to be in an all right spot because you've not fallen behind too many. Whereas if you don't play him and he goes off, then the rest of the field's got a massive advantage over you at a cheap price where you're having to play catch up with a player that's you'll have spent more money on. So, Stafford and Minshew in cash for me.
Yeah, absolutely love both these picks. Matt Stafford, to me, should be more expensive. He should be up towards the 7K mark just because of the weapons that he's got now. I mean, he's not thrown as many touchdowns as he would have liked this season, but the yardage has been there. The Rams' offense has looked great, keeping up with the Eagles. It was a good game last week. He's obviously got his touchdown machine back in Cooper Kupp. So with Cooper Kupp and Puka, the stacking possibilities are there. Not so much in cash, but just the 6,100 is mispriced going up against a Cardinals team that themselves can put up points. Really like that matchup. And then Gardner Minshew as well at 5K against the Jags. And I just think it allows you to do so much to have the studs in your lineup, like the Tyreek Hills, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely love it. Gardner Minshew's one of the best backups, if not the best backup in the NFL. He could probably be a starting quarterback somewhere. He is really that good. And we love rooting for him because he's a good-looking dude with a tash, and let's root for him in our cash lineups this week. So we'll move on to the running back cash plays, and over to you, Mags.
I mean, how do you not go from one good-looking dude who's attached to another there, Ali? Come on. I mean, that is just... You got to have that as the transition for me.
What are you talking about? Raheem Mostert.
Well, I mean, maybe, yeah, Raheem Mostert. I was going to say his brother in arms, Devon going down, but Bubba Raheem, he's still here, and he's going to smash once again. He's at 6,400 up against Carolina, who just, I mean, they look awful, don't they? They look locked in to be that number one pick. So I think Raheem Mostert is an easy play here at 6,400, easy money there. And the second one I've got for you is, I mean, a guy who's on pace for 1 million touchdowns. Like, he won't stop scoring. David Montgomery, quite pricey. I mean, 7,300 if you thought he was going to be that price, at the start of the season, you'd be slightly confused. But he's going up against Tampa Bay, who I've played, even above your expectations, Ali, I would say. But, I mean, he's just going to find the end zone probably, right, which is going to be all you need really for that running back position. So I expect Montgomery to play well too. Yeah,
really like both of these plays. Raheem Mostert is just going to absolutely smash this week against Carolina. It's not even going to be pretty. I mean, if Achane was in, Raheem Mostert's still a really good play, but with Achane out, I just think at 6,400, it's so underpriced. And yeah, you need him in your lineups because we've seen him already have a 4-touchdown game earlier this season. And I mean, it's not outside the realms of possibility that he has 3 touchdowns against Carolina and then they probably rest him. They're going to be up so much at home. I think he's going to have to be in all your lineups because most people are going to have him. And then David Montgomery again, keeping him red hot. 7,300, his price is getting up there, but I mean, it deserves to be there because Gibbs has been inactive and Montgomery's had all of the work, all of the goal line work. It just looked great. He's looked almost more explosive than he has before, and that offensive line has been awesome. Maybe the best in the NFL, bar the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Bucs have been. We've been fine against the run, but probably not as good as we used to be. And Montgomery, he's going to score a touchdown this week. So in your cash plays, it's a great play. So we're going to move on from one stud in UMags to 2 that I'm going to talk about. My wide receivers. I mean, how can you not have this guy in your lineup? Tyreek Hill, the most expensive wide receiver on the slate at 9,300 against Carolina in that matchup. I just think, especially now without Justin Jefferson, who's on IR, it was always the last few weeks is which one of these can you fit in your lineup? Well, you don't have to make that pick now because everybody's going to have Tyreek Hill in cash. You just don't want to miss out on owning Tyreek Hill. I mean, this guy was only on the field for 46% of snaps against the Giants, and he still destroyed them. So yeah, in cash, if you draft Tyreek Hill, and you just need to find ways to get him in your team. It's just as simple as that. You just get him in and you build around him because he has the ability to just up the cash line himself. He's been that good this year. Panthers have generally been good against wide receivers because teams don't even have to really throw them. They've been running the ball, but Tyreek Hill is good for a touchdown and 100 to 150 yards this week, which will be good enough hopefully for you to cash. And then if not, this other guy, Jamar Chase, at 8,300, so a whole $1,000 cheaper against Seattle. This is a guy that broke the slate this week with 3 touchdown performance, setting some Bengals records along the way. I think the 15 catches. Mr. I'm always open, 19 targets. He was always open, 15 catches, 192 yards. The poor Cardinals couldn't do anything about it. And again, they're probably missing T. Higgins again this week. That would equal Chase being hyper-targeted. Yeah. It's a great matchup as well on paper because Seattle are giving up the most points to fantasy wide receivers this season so far. So it's an easy smash for me. I think Seattle have the ability to put up points themselves. So it's personally a game that I'm targeting quite heavily this week because I think it will be a fairly high over-under. So we'll move on to the flex position and over to you, Kev.
Yeah, so flex, like we said in cash, it's fine to have running backs in this spot, but I'm picking 2 wide receivers on this week's show. So first guy, Glendale Brown, Hollywood Brown, call him whatever you want, but I think he's going to help you hit the green this week. So 5,300 is at the Rams. It's a game where I expect the Rams to be in the lead, to be setting up a favourable environment for him to play from behind. terms of the one-to-one matchup, it is more difficult than you would require. But look at what Brown's done this season. He's been so consistent. He's had 4 games over 50 yards. He's had 3 games with 10 targets. I think at that price, 5,300, it's giving you the ability to go for these big hitters, your Hills, your Chases, etc. So someone that's really interesting for me, someone that's really safe, which is what you wanted in cash. Second guy, Drake London, 4,800 at the Kerm. He's playing against the Commanders. I think when you come to cash, have a look on your DraftKings. You see anybody that's in green in terms of the who they're playing, the ranking they're facing, the easy matchups are going to really stand out. It's going to play on people's minds. It's something graphical. It's something that attaches you to picking the easy matchups in cash, really, because that's essentially where you're going to get the most popular players. So he's won at 4,800. He's coming off a big game. Last time we saw the Commanders, which, yes, it will have been, 10 days since last game, they got absolutely hosed by Fields and the Bears at home. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really popular play. I'm not saying I'm a huge Drake London fan. There is some volatility there in the sense of the Falcons and what Artie Smith wants to do with that offense in any given week, how many targets he wants to give him. I know Lund's had a couple of games where he's barely seen anything, but I think at that price and based on the matchup, based on sort of the Commanders as well, and last week, he's going to be popular. He's going to be in a lot of people's flexes, so jump on board.
Yeah, I love both of these picks. Hollywood Brown has just been Mr. Consistent all season. You mentioned the last 4 games, 17.4 points, 17.1, 16.6, 16.1 points. You'll take that. That's 3x every single week of his value. So that's going to help you cash. Good matchup as well. You mentioned the quarterback that you're targeting in Matt Stafford. There's going to be points in this game. And Marquise Brown has been the wide receiver 1 for the Cardinals for Dobbs. And he's looked really good. He's looked really, really good. So I love that. And then Drake London, I think his price, it just continues to come down. And you'd love to see Desmond Ridder actually air the ball out more this week, which was a bit of a surprise, throwing over 300 yards. Didn't think he had it in him, but you love to see that. Interesting that they traded for Van Jefferson today, which signals that, I mean, this is a team that doesn't really throw to the wide receiver, but are they possibly going to change tactic a little bit heading into the rest of the season? Who knows? But Drake London is a stud at 4,800. You love people where their talent, it seems to be mispriced for the talent of Drake London. 4,800. It allows you to fit a lot more people in your lineups. Love that because he's got the ability to go off, and the Commanders with Sam Howell will put up points. So I love both them picks. Moving on to the tight end position, which is pretty difficult at the minute. But Mags, you found a couple of players that are going to help you cash this week.
Yeah, I'm glad you teed that up a little bit, Ali, there. It has been pretty difficult. We talked about it in the Dynasty show just yesterday about how it's a bit of like a bit of a wasteland out there, right? So I've kind of picked 2 players here. One is what is the best matchup on paper for me. That's TJ Hawkinson at 6,600 up against the Chicago Bears. Because we've talked about before, the Bears suck. They're terrible. Hawkinson's probably going to do really well. Justin Jefferson is out. I mean, it all matches up perfectly for Hawkinson to have a big week. But probably where I'm going to be more inclined to go this week is actually down the cheaper route, because we've talked about all these other guys that you want in your team. You're going to need Tyreek Hill in your team. You're probably going to need Raheem Mostert in your team. If you could fit Jamar Chase in, fair play to you as well, that would be great. So you're going to need to save, or not save, you're going to need to sacrifice something somewhere, and it might be the tight end position. So I've found someone at 3,500 in Logan Thomas coming off a really big week, going into play against the Falcons, who aren't going to put up too much of a fight on defense. They have got one really good corner in AJ Terrell, but he's not going to be around Logan Thomas too much at all. So I expect him to be heavily targeted to be a pretty good option at 3,500.
Yes, it's a really good price, 3,100. I always love to see the cheap tight ends that are possibly going to give you production where you can get away with fitting more studs in your lineup. Logan Thomas, I saw a quote today or yesterday saying that he's their Travis Kelce, and they're willing to use him in ways like Travis Kelce. And it's pretty funny. But when you look at Sam Howell, I think did he throw for 300 odd yards, or he had a huge amount of pass opportunity. I think it was 51 pass attempts the other night, and it was less than like 20% or 30% went to wide receivers. Or the two studs in he's got there in Jahan Dotson. So they're targeting the tight end position. So yeah, I love that pick. And TJ Hockenson, it's about time he bounced back. And Chicago Bears, they're putting up plenty of points at the minute. So this could be a game where both teams are desperate, and it could be high scoring. And TJ Hockenson, yeah, he's due a bounce back and to have a couple of touchdowns. Why not against the Chicago Bears in Chicago that are going to put up plenty of points?
I'm trying to think of if Logan Thomas is Travis Kelce, then who is Taylor? Is it like Taylor Swift for him, like JoJo or something, right?
Like a real cheap one.
Yeah.
We'll perhaps think of that at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to the defense. I've been tasked with the defense this week. I've gone for it's a bit of a struggle this week where the real cheap options where I love to hang out and draft and pick these real cheap defenses. There's only one standing out this week, so I've had to go for a bit more expensive this week at 3,500. The Miami Dolphins. I do really like this matchup for the Dolphins. 14-point favorites, massive favorites. Carolina are likely to be playing from behind all game. Bryce Young, we've talked about, he's struggling this season. Obviously, Adam Thielen is doing well, but he's really struggling under pressure. And when the Dolphins are going to be up by so much, that's when turnovers can happen, when he's forcing the ball to these wide receivers like Jonathan Mingo that's not performing well. That's when turnovers can happen. I think the Dolphins are due for a couple of turnovers in this game. I think I'm just targeting at the minute struggling quarterbacks is where I want to go with my defenses, and Bryce Young fits that mold perfectly right now as a quarterback that's struggling, that's going to want to show something. The Dolphins allow people to score points on them, but they'll be able to make forced turnovers in this matchup. Then my alternative defense is Jacksonville Jaguars at 3,400 against the backup in Gardner Minshew. And talking about a Jacksonville defense that really stopped Josh Allen in his tracks this week in London. Didn't look great for Josh Allen or the Bills. They looked sluggish, whether it was the jet lag or whatever. But the Jacksonville Jaguars just pounced all over them. And the team that's now got momentum, 3-2, they've won back-to-back games. And they've also caused 5 turnovers in the last 2 games. Forced a couple at the weekend against the Bills and 3 in the game previous. And yeah, against Gardner Minshew, who's been playing fine, but we all know that he can have a blow-up game where he throws 3 picks. And it could be the game in Jacksonville in this division shootout at the weekend. So 3,400 for Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that's appealing for me. So we'll move on to the tournament picks, so the GPP lineups, where we're looking for now lower overall players with unique plays, stacks and correlations for days. And obviously we're trying to be first place in these contests. So Kev, over to you at the quarterback position. Who have you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to attack the highest over-under on the slate. So these guys are going to be popular, but I think with both these guys, there's going to be options to build unique lineups on the back of them, whether it be the stacks or the run backs, the bring backs, whatever you want to call them, if you want to double these guys as well. So yeah, Justin Fields and Kirk Cousins are the ones for me. Justin Fields, 7,300 against the Vikings. We know in any given week he's got QB1 overall ceiling, which that's what you want in tournaments, someone that can really hit the heights in a high score game where they are likely playing from behind. But then again, maybe they're actually on the front foot and slinging it themselves against the Vikings. The Vikings team that, in terms of the defense, they got lit up by DeAndre Swift, but other than that, they've been pretty decent most of the year in terms of holding running backs and making it more of a pass funnel type, which is great for the QBs on the other side. And then Kirk Cousins, again, 7,100. It's a price that's appealing. For him to hit a 30-point game, it's not out of the realms of possibility. You are going to need a little bit of luck with that, probably 4 touchdowns because it's not bringing a lot on the ground. So I think if you're taking Cousins, rather than just stick one guy with him, like an Addison, you might want to stick a second guy with him, which I'm sure his name's going to come up a couple of times on this show tonight. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. So, yeah, these are popular guys, but I think there's plenty of opportunity to get different alongside adding to these.
Yeah, really like the Kirk Cousins pick, and I think a lot of people will just be immediately scared of Kirk Cousins just because of Justin Jefferson not being available for the next 4 weeks. He's obviously elevated Kirk Cousins massively to start the season, so I think a lot of people will be put off. And I just think the matchup with the Bears is so juicy. They drafted Jordan Addison in the first round. He now needs to step up. There's other wide receivers there. There's obviously TJ Hawkinson, who's a stud himself. He could have a big game. I really like this matchup for both quarterbacks. I think there's possibility that they're both going to go off. Justin Fields has been absolutely red hot lately, and surprisingly just getting it done through the air, not on the ground, which is what he was doing last year, throwing so many touchdowns. It's unreal, really, having that link up with DJ Moore, who again is cheap enough. So there's plenty of stack opportunities in this game. There's plenty of bringbacks. And it allows you to be flexible at other positions as well. So you're not having to reach the heights of the really expensive quarterbacks. But it's going to be a high over-under, so we like to target them in tournaments. And yeah, 2 really good picks. Mags, over to you with the running back picks. And you're going for a real different one here. Hopefully you can pronounce his name.
Yeah, I'm going in for Amari DiMercado. And the reason for that is I seem to quite like doing this. I mean, running back goes out. People might be tentative about putting in the replacement, but I actually seen enough from DiMercado when he came in to replace James Conner last week that I think he should be a really solid play. And at 4,900, I'm thinking the same kind of thing again here. I'm trying to fit in these big time hitters this week with Hill and with these other guys. I think DiMercado is going to help you do that by slotting him in, and he might hit it big as well. The Arizona run game's actually been pretty good. Arizona have been much better than everybody thought. So I think DiMercado is a pretty good pick there at 4,900. Second one, bit more expensive at 6,700. Is a guy that's going sneakily under the radar for how well he is playing. It's Kenneth Walker. He's going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who, while last week they looked a bit more like themselves, I think are still not fully back at the races. Walker, I think, is going to have a really good day. You know, he's playing well enough to keep someone like a Zach Charbonnet, who is a really good player, keeping him quiet. And yeah, I expect Walker to do really well against the Bengals in what should be a pretty high-scoring game, which always will help Walker because he has that receiving ability sneakily under the radar as well. So look for him to do well.
Yeah, it's been a real surprise to me the start of the season for the usage of Kenneth Walker. I was tempted to fade him really in the offseason because of Zach Charbonnet, and I really liked him as a prospect. Thought that he's going to take a lot of receiving work there and he'd be used a lot more, but it's just been the Kenneth Walker show. And I mean, it's because he's been really good and he's been dominating for fantasy on the ground. Looked great. So I love it. You're not having to pay the top price for Kenneth Walker. You can fit him in. And then equally, when you look at Cardinals running backs, it's been James Conner, who's been the cheap guy that enables you to play these other studs, and he's given you a safe floor. Well, 4,900 again, that allows you to then reach out to a Tyreek Hill or someone like that. Yeah, really like the play. I think it's a sneaky play that a lot of people are talking about him because he did look fine, but then when it comes to it, when you're putting your money where your mouth is, a lot of people might be put off because they've not seen too much of him. And I think it's a good matchup against the Rams. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the wide receiver GPP plays. And this is my favorite pick of my players this week. It's DJ Moore, 6,500 versus the Vikings. And this is my guaranteed smash pick of the week. Lock it up. Yeah, so I locked up Zay Flowers last week. It wasn't exactly a smash, but 11 targets. It could easily have been a better game for Zay Flowers. But yeah, just looking at DJ Moore at 6,500. Nobody's got close to DJ Moore the past 2 weeks. He's had 19 targets, 361 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns in the past 2 games. It's just been unreal. We just did not expect to see this after what we saw the first 2 or 3 weeks from the Bears. And now they've got the Vikings at home in an absolute great matchup. I just want to load up all my teams with Fields, with DJ Moore in stacks, bringbacks, Just think it's affordable. The ceiling is there for DJ Moore. We've seen it just dominating last week over 200 yards. So yeah, that's my favorite pick of the week in a really high over under. And then I'm going to old man Thielen again, and I've got a feeling that Adam Thielen is going to have another good game, and his price just keeps creeping up. So 5,900, but it's still really affordable. He just keeps getting it done. They're at Miami, so they're going to be playing likely from behind. He's the wide receiver 10 on the year, and since he had a bad week 1, but since week 2, so week 2 to 5, he's actually the wide receiver 3 in points per game, averaging 23.7 points PPR points per game, which is disgusting. But he's just been in all the winning lineups, and at sub 6K, you just have to get him in your lineups. He's so cheap. The matchup's great. So 14-point away dogs, the Carolina are in Miami. You just know Miami's going to put up points for fun. Bryce Young is going to have to show something. He's going to have to be brave and throw a ton. Just the last 3 weeks, 14 targets, 8 targets, 13 targets. So, yeah, let's keep the good feeling going. Lol. And with that, we better quickly move to the flex position. And over to you, Kev.
Oh, you give me a good feeling then with that, because I love talking about Adam Thielen. Maybe I will do in a bit, but two guys I have actually spoke about in GPP Flex before. Just really what I'm looking for in them profiles. We've got KG Osborne, 4,400 at the Bears. This is probably going to be a chalky play with the Jefferson news, but I think a lot of players will gravitate towards Hawkinson and Addison. So maybe not as chalky as you'd expect. He's in a game environment where it's going to be tons of passing, tons of opportunity for him to really smash. Like I say, if he gets 15 points, if he gets 20 points, that's mega at that price. Other guys, A. Jones at 4,100 against the Colts. Yeah, he had not many targets in London, but he did score a touchdown. And we'll look back to week 1 against the Colts, same matchup. Had a pretty strong day in lieu of Christian Kirk doing anything. I think it'll revert back to what worked in week 1 in the sense of the 2 wide receivers, Jones and Ridley, eating more than Kirk in this scenario. So 4,100 again. You do probably need a touchdown if you expect the Jags to walk away with it. But like I mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be a bit of a back and forth sort of game. It's a divisional game. They know each other play. 4,100 is someone that's in my play pool at the flex position to take advantage.
Yeah, really like these. A couple of wide receivers that have the ceiling to do great in any week. I won't mention KJ Osborne too much because we might bring him up again in a minute. But Zay Jones, just has the ability. I think in any week it could be a Calvin Ridley week. We saw Christian Kirk get a ton of targets. I think it maybe be in week 2. And Zay Jones has had a good week as well. So, really like this. And at 4,100, I just think it gives you the ability to fit some studs in your lineup as well. Really like that player. I think he should be a little bit more expensive than that. So lineups this week. And then moving on to the tight end position. Mags, who have you got for us? Because it's been a struggle.
Yeah, with tight end here, I'm just thinking, who's got an opportunity to absolutely smash it and score more than 1 touchdown? And 2 names have popped out for me were Zach Ertz at 3,600, pretty cheap option, going up against the Rams. We've seen Zach Ertz do this time and time again, where just every now and again he will just explode out of nowhere and score huge. So we've seen a little glimpse last week with him catching a touchdown. So I think he's coming back in a full fitness soon. So Zach Ertz has a chance to do that. And the second one, we've talked about this matchup a lot. It's against Minnesota. It's Cole Kmet, who is at the Chicago Bears. 2,500 for Cole Kmet. I mean, he's looking pretty good this year. I think that's a pretty good deal on him. He's got a chance to absolutely smash. And yeah, could be another guy that comes away with more than 1 touchdown, which is really what you're looking for at tight end.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Kmet, the tight end 4 of the season. Yeah. You want these guys in the matchups that are going to be projected high over unders, which this game is. He's got great chemistry with Justin Fields. Yeah, smash player. I still think 4,600 just allows you to go elsewhere with your studs to pay up. And Zach Ertz as well at 3,600. I think he scored his first touchdown last week. You love to see it. He's been getting the absolute targets this year, but not had the touchdowns. But if he can now mix in the touchdowns as well, that really elevates his floor to a level that can really help you win a week. And 3,600 for a guy that's going to get between 6 and 10 targets is a great price. So I'll be tasked with the defense. So this is actually my favorite pick of the defense, and it's not a biased pick, I swear. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a bye at 2,300 against the red hot Detroit Lions. And although I may think that the Lions could win this game, I do think the Buccaneers, who actually before the bye, they had actually forced the second most turnovers in the NFL. The defense has looked really good, and it's something that just not been used to. We've been taking the ball away every single game, multiple times. And Jared Goff, I like Jared Goff in DFS because you know what he is. When he's at home, he's an absolute stud. But when he's on the road, he struggles. So Tampa Bay are going to pick him off, maybe once, maybe twice. They're going to force a turnover or two. And at 2,300, I think the slate is saying that Detroit Lions are going to be able to move the ball at will against the Buccaneers. But I just think it's not always going to be the case. I think the Buccaneers, they're playing great on defense. They're going to force a turnover or two. I just think at 2,300, it's one of the cheapest prices on the slate. That allows you to do so much. So I really like that play. And the second one is the Chicago Bears, which is a pretty disgusting pick. It's a little bit more expensive at 2,500 because they have been the joke of the NFL the first 2 or 3 weeks. But I just think they're slowly starting to figure it out a bit on defense. They've had a lot of turnover. They've sold a lot of their players off. But they're figuring it out slowly. And obviously, Minnesota, they're not going to have Justin Jefferson, so he's not going to be destroying them this week. And I just think that it's a bit of a contrarian play where there's not going to be a lot of people on Chicago defense. So I think it's good to mix it up from that point of view. And it can be an absolute lottery at the defensive position. So if Chicago get up early, which could happen because their offense has been firing, Cousins has then got to rely on rookie Jordan Anderson, KJ Osborne, who's been a bit part player. That's when mistakes can happen, and Kirk Cousins could start throwing picks. So, yeah, Chicago Bears, bit of a different but disgusting play. But who knows how it's going to go. So we'll move on to a new section where we're going to have our picks of the week. So this could be from any position. Over to you, Kev. Who is your favourite pick of the week?
Yeah, I really liked your pick of Adam Thielen, wide receiver. Shock, yeah. Anybody that knows me, I love Adam Thielen. I just think he can be played on his own if you want to do that, but also if you're playing any of the Dolphins, if you want to have most of it and Thielen, that works. If you want to have Tyreek and Thielen, that works. There is an alternative in Hayden Hurst on the Panthers as a bring back to whoever you're playing on the Dolphins. But I just think with that volume, with that ceiling, I'm really happy to go after him at a really attainable price. And you've got to think as well, now that we're in bye weeks, the options at all positions is going to condense. So you just want to have good plays, and you can mix in some shots as well. But he's a guy that price wise, ceiling wise, I love him.
Yeah, I really like that pick as well. But I'm going to go actually with another one that's been mentioned on the show. It's KJ Osborne going up against the Bears. And I like that because I think a lot of people will kind of shy away from that because Justin Jefferson's, like we talked about that earlier, people might think that Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson are going to go there. So I think in your tournament lineups, KJ Osborne could be a really good pick where people are kind of feeding him a little bit. And what I like from Osborne is whenever they need a first down or a big play, the name KJ Osborne is said a lot after that because that's usually who Kirk Cousins is looking for as the second read. So, you do the maths, you take away the first read, who's the second read? Do they become the first read? Maybe. But I think he's worth a shot.
Yeah, love that. Love that 4,400. I'm going to have a bit of Osborne this week. I'm going to round it up with someone that's really not performed at all to the level that we thought, but it's such a cheap price. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think coming off the bye, they're going to figure it out. They're going to want to get the ball to him and tell people why they drafted him as the first wide receiver taken this year. But 3,600, I think it's such a cheap price where I think they're just going to feature him. And we know the talent. We know how good Jackson Smith-Njigba is. I think it's going to be a game where he sees 8 targets. He could get on the score sheet and have a touchdown. And I just think up against the Bengals figured it out. They figured it out last week. Joe Burrow looked really good. Obviously, Jamar Chase is awesome. So there's going to be points in this game. And I just think JSN is going to get it done. And we're going to see the first week where perhaps the window is going to be slammed shut on people trying to buy him because he might be entering the NFL properly in week 6.
Ooh.
So with that, thank you for tuning in, and be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Wildcard DFS and Fantasy Wildcard. And join us for our show every single Wednesday. And then also, excitingly, if you'd like to take part in our $5 entry winner takes all Wildcard DFS money maker. And I mean, I have to just say this. Kev has won it. Mags has won it. Come on. Don't let me win it, because I've been getting close. I've been getting close the last couple of weeks. I'm going to win it this week. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled from Thursday onwards. And we're going to be putting some feelers out there, some links to join that. It's $5, winner takes all. And the more entries, the bigger the prize. So, yeah. Thank you once again. Have a good one.